Welcome, my friends, to the Mind-Muscle Experience. This podcast is for those who realize that the human body is the single greatest tool we are given on this earth, a tool we're given to realize just how much potential human beings have. You're here because you want to explore how physical activity and proper nutrition connect to the right mindset, allowing us to realize just how much we're capable of, giving you the ultimate mind-muscle experience. All right, welcome back, my friends. Today, this episode is going to be on the tubes of the U, aka YouTube. I am recording this one on the cell phone and also going to be uploading it to YouTube. So if you guys like visuals, if you like watching, a dude with long hair talk, go check that out because the mane is flowing today. I just let it rock, no man bun, nothing. It's just beautiful. Nice little hair flip there for those of you who may not be watching. Today, we're going to be going into something that is vital for our everyday function. That is the nervous system. But before we get into that, I got a couple things I would like to discuss. If you guys haven't checked out the most recent episode, it was just an episode of it was a podcast I was on with my friends back in September. They have their own podcast. I went and visited them, so they had me on their show. It's pretty cool. First time I'd ever been interviewed, so I enjoyed it. If that's not your speed, it is what it is. With that being said, in that episode, before I got into it, I discussed that I am currently unemployed. Why? Well, because everybody is okay with the mask mandates and the lockdowns, and your boy isn't. I originally moved out of the shithole state of New Jersey because of all the ridiculous lockdowns and mandates the governor was placing there, and I wanted to start my fitness career here in Pennsylvania because they actually opened their gyms back in June. Now, I moved here and they shut their gyms down, but New Jersey's still open. Go figure. It's almost like it's me. Who knows? But it doesn't matter because I quit my job at the warehouse. I'm not cool with the company forcing masks on people, potential vaccines. That's probably what's coming next, and I'm just not cool with it. I know some people, you may not be here to listen about COVID-related things, but unfortunately, it is consuming this world. And what the government is doing is fucking wrong. You don't like it? Oh, well. I'm not going to be talking about that much longer. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the nervous system. And I was thinking last night before I decided to do this episode that I need to have like a structure to the podcast, like a format. So what I'm going to be doing going forward is we're getting into the episodes. I'll give you guys the topic of the day, what we're going to be talking about, and how it applies to you. So today's topic is the nervous system. And why are we talking about the nervous system? Well, the questions I'm going to be answering are why the nervous system is important to understand. And I'm not going to be going too into detail because, the nervous system is complex as fuck. There's like a million nervous systems. There's so many of them. Like I talked about one in the gut microbiome episode, the enteric nervous system. It's insane. There's so many. So why the nervous system is important to understand, why it's important for resistance training. It's very important to understand for resistance training. And then how can you use this, or how can this help you? How can you apply it in the gym? Before we get into that, you guys already know, America, flaunting my coffee mug right now. It's Captain America. just in time, and the home of the nailed it. If you don't love America, that sucks because you're missing out. I actually saw President Trump I guess it was probably his video. Somebody else retweeted it. It was a video of a bunch of countries standing up against the COVID lockdowns in their countries, and a bunch of them had American flags. They had Trump flags. It was fucking crazy to think about. So many countries are standing not only with America, but with Donald Trump. Makes you wonder, or it makes me wonder anyway. So let's get into it, guys. Enough of that shit. America's great. You should all understand that by now. Let's get into it today. So let's talk about the nervous system. What is the nervous system? Well, nervous system is a great thing. It is what allows me to do the things I'm doing as we speak. Because the nervous system is a network of neurons, and these neurons send signals throughout the body. It's basically our body's way of communicating with different systems within our body. Dr. Kelly Starrett, who, if you're watching a video on YouTube, I have a stack of books here, mostly because I want to look smart. But they're books I've read or I will be reading about the human body, certain things. Like I have one on back mechanics, anatomy trains, movement, screens and stuff like that. Anyway, I have 3 books from Dr. Kelly Starrett, and he always says our body is a system of systems, and these systems have to work together. The nervous system is very much that, because the nervous system is, wow, there's so much into it. So again, the nervous system is a network of neurons, and these neurons send signals throughout the body. It's basically, in the simplest terms, our body's way of communicating with itself. So we take our nervous system, we can break it down to 2 things, the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. Now, the central nervous system is our brain and our spinal cord. I'm not going to go too crazy into the brain because there's still so much I'm learning about it. But the spinal cord is broken up into, if I'm not mistaken, 5 parts. We're going to talk about 4. The cervical spine, which is, if you reach on the back of your neck, at the base of your neck, you can feel like a bump. That's where your cervical spine ends and your thoracic spine begins. So that lump right there, from there up is your cervical spine, and then from there down is your thoracic spine. Now, if you reach in the middle of your back, you'll feel another one of those bumps. From the base of your neck to the middle of your back, that's your thoracic spine. That's where we get incredible mobility in our torso. It's where we get a lot of rotational power. That's where a lot of people lose a lot of energy and force when they're lifting weights because their thoracic spine is collapsed. Then we hit the lumbar spine. From that middle part of your back down, that's your lumbar spine. This part is very fragile, and is exactly why you need a strong and stable core to protect it, because it's literally the only thing, from my understanding, the only thing protecting our lower back. So, and again, it's your lower back, your lumbar spine, lower back. This is how I remember: lumbar spine, lower back. The L's go hand in hand. Thoracic spine is where your shoulders kind of meet your spine, so it kind of makes the shape of a T. Thoracic starts with a T, and then the cervical spine, because it's the highest, or the closest to the beginning of the alphabet, starts at your dome piece. So it's kind of how I remembered it when I was taking my personal training exam. Anyway, so our lumbar spine attaches to our pelvis, and yes, our pelvis is a part of the spine, and that part is called I already kind of forget it. Oh, the sacrum. I don't know how I forget it. I have all kinds of hip issues. I'm always watching videos on them. So the sacrum is what the lumbar spine attaches to, which connects to our spine. There's one other part, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, and it's not really relevant, so we're not going to get into it. And then the peripheral spine, or this peripheral nervous system, is the connection between our brain and our spinal cord. This is important. Like, our brain sends connections to our spinal cord, which then sends connections, or it communicates with our muscles to allow us to move. So there's 3 main functions to the nervous system. We have the sensory function, the response function, and the integrative function is what I mean. I had to say it slow so I didn't screw it up. I say some words wrong sometimes. And if you guys are watching on YouTube, you'll see me looking down a few times. My notes are right here. Okay, now that we got that out of the way. I got some caffeine in me. Okay, so the sensory function is pretty much just that. You guys know what the 5 senses are, tasting, smelling, hearing, those things. Well, that is a part of the sensory function of the nervous system. Okay, so this is our body sensing changes to homeostasis, or I'm trying to think of a best way to describe homeostasis. I'm sure most people would know what it is, but just kind of like a neutral position in a way. Our body is not in fight or flight. It is not in a stressful situation. It's also not in like that rest, relax station. So it senses the changes from homeostasis. We have both internal senses that our body function, or our body senses, and then external. Okay, so internal senses that our body will function. Or wow, I keep screwing this up. An example of an internal sense that our body will notice is a stretch on the muscle, because our muscles are not on the outside of our skin, not yet anyway. When I get fucking shredded, they will be, but they're not. So that is on the inside. That is something internal that our body senses. Now we have something external, is like, so if you're walking and you're outside, you go from walking on cement barefoot, because you should be walking barefoot more. Get out of those fucking foot coffins. Do it. You go from walking on cement. I don't know why you're walking on cement, but you are. And then you go to walk into grass, or maybe you go from grass to sand. I don't know where you're finding grass and sand right next to each other, but you are for some reason. So this is our body sensing the external sources, things around us that we're noticing, or, for example, when you sit in a dark room all day watching TV and you go outside for the first time and it's nice and sunny, your eyes have to adjust. That is an external thing that your body is sensing. Okay, so that is the sensory function. Then we have the response function. This is your nervous system responding to the stimuli that you just were exposed to, whether it be a stretch on the muscle or whether it be you walking in grass to cement. Okay, it senses through the movement of muscles. And there's actually, we talk a lot about the muscles that, make us look swole, make us look thick, but there's actually more than just those muscle contractions, not more just like bicep curls and things to that effect. There are 3 types of muscles in the body. There are cardiac, skeletal, and smooth muscles. And cardiac are pretty self-explanatory, but they are just the muscles that control our cardiorespiratory system. Skeletal muscles are the ones that actually move our body. So biceps, there's so many of them, and for some reason I'm drawing a blank. Like our quads, our glutes, our core musculature, our lats, our chest. And then we have the smooth muscles, which would have been nice to mention in the last episode, or the last few episodes when I did the digestive stuff, the gut microbiome, because the smooth muscles are responsible for the digestion of our food. Okay, so an example of a response function from the nervous system is, you go to hop in the shower and you think it's going to be hot, but then it's super cold, right? You get in, you fucking tense up. That is your body responding to the stimuli, or in this case, the cold water, an external sense. And then the last one, the integrative function. This is the processing of the information received from the sensation. So any of the 5 senses that our body notices, the integrative function of the nervous system senses it and responds, processes. So they're more specific responses. So, for example, so when I was doing the research on this, they had a sports analogy, and I want to say it was baseball. So, I don't follow baseball anymore, so I can't even use an example of somebody. But, a batter is up to the plate. Someone throws him a curveball. The batter adjusts to it because he's practiced that he is responding to the stimuli of the ball being thrown at him. My example, because I'm I guess I could say it now, ex-volleyball player, is, a setter sets the ball up in the air and they lob it all the way up, and the hitter has to time it perfectly. That is an integrative response from the nervous system. It's a very specific response, something that you almost kind of have to train. Okay? So now we know the 3 functions of the nervous system. We know that there's the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. One is the actual brain and spinal cord. The other one connects the 2. The 3 functions. And one thing I want to throw out there is something called proprioception. Now, this is our body sensing self-movement or body function. This is going to play more of a role probably in the next episode when I go deeper into how this stuff really, really affects us in the gym. But just understand what proprioception is your body sensing self-movement and body position. So that example of walking from the beach to grass, the proprioception in your feet, your body sensing that, is what that actually is. Now, the problem with proprioception is people lose that sensation because of footwear, because we're always inside. Like, we can't even, our bodies can't even adjust to temperature because we're so used to clothing now. So our body loses those sensations, okay? I'm going to apologize. You're going to hear me flip the page because I still haven't figured that out. Okay, so we know all that about the nervous system. We know the basic functions, what the two major systems are. So how does this work to control bodily movement? So in order to understand this, we have to break down the peripheral nervous system a little bit more. Like I said, it's a system of systems, right? So the peripheral nervous system is broken into the somatic nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. Now, I've brought up the autonomic nervous system before when talking about the fight or flight state and the rest and digest state. So it's making a comeback here. It's important to understand. And this is a part of the peripheral nervous system. It's how our body, it's how our brain and our spinal cord connect. Okay? So the somatic nervous system is conscious perceptions and voluntary motor control. This is the control of skeletal muscle, or, our biceps, our lats, our chest, our quads, our glutes, those kinds of muscles. Then we have the autonomic nervous system, which is involuntary control of the body, things that we don't even think twice about. So that's where cardiac muscles are working their ass off, or smooth muscles, the digestive muscles, because we don't even, all right, I do. If you're a mindful person, if you pay attention to the way your body works and functions and stuff like that, you'll probably feel some of these things happening. There's times where I'll just lay down and just feel my heartbeat because I want to know what the fuck's going on in my body. There's speculation that we can't really control the autonomic nervous system at all, but I've also heard that we can. So it sounds like that's kind of like split. Anyway, so other things like sweat glands are a part of the autonomic nervous system. And making a comeback is the enteric nervous system, like we talked about in the gut microbiome episode. Because again, we don't even notice these things happening, and that is the main nervous system that controls our digestion, our connection to the brain from the gut. Crazy shit. And then the autonomic nervous system breaks down even more. Again, a system of systems, right? So that's the sympathetic, the fight or flight state, and then the parasympathetic, which is the rest and digestive state that we've talked about in the gut microbiome episode. So this is why the nervous system is so important, because you have the autonomic nervous system that is doing involuntary control of the body, things that we don't even think twice about. We have the somatic nervous system, They use such big words for this shit. Somatic nervous system, which is our conscious perception and the voluntary control of our body. So like the control of skeletal muscle, the muscle that we go and get fucking thick with, and some bicep curls. Get thick. So that's why it's important to understand, because this is the somatic nervous system is what controls our skeletal muscle. This is what we feel moving when we're doing things, and the nervous system has those three functions, most of which we are very I shouldn't say that. It's very, I'm generalizing here because actually most people don't even pay attention to the way their body's moving or what's actually going on. The reason most people don't feel pain, I've talked to a lot of people who are inactive, and they're like, yeah, I haven't really, I don't really have much back pain, a little bit of this here, a little bit of that there. But then I watch them move and they're just like everything's all jacked up. I'm like, how aren't you feeling pain? But like my hips are like deteriorating. They're not really, but you get my point. And what happens is, again, proprioception, our body sensing bodily movements and our body position. That's what I was looking for. Sorry, I had to go back to the notes here. And people lose that proprioception. They lose that sense of self-movement, their body position, no matter what they're doing. A lot of people lose these sensations. We get desensitized to, because we're always sitting down. Our muscles are turning off. They're not doing anything. So then we lose the sensation to it. Not like, forever, but people just don't feel it because their muscles are so inactive. And then everything becomes normal, and it's crazy to me. So that's why this stuff's so important, because if you're not being mindful of it, you're never gonna know. You're like, well, I don't feel like, for the longest time I couldn't move all my toes. I could move my big toe and that was it. For the last year, whenever I'm in the shower, I look down and I move them. Some of them move, some of them don't. But now I can move every single toe. And it looks like the YouTube video is cut out. I must have ran out of space on my that sucks, on my phone. So sorry, YouTube people. Anyway, so now I can move every single toe. It comes